All right, everyone's in and we are recording.
All right, so I'll open the planning board meeting for June 2nd being 6:30 and have a quorum. We're still operating under the March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law 30A, Section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Bridgewater Planning Board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time. The meeting is being recorded, and within 48 hours, we will post a link of the recording on the town's website and or other social media pages. The following members of the Bridgewater Planning Board are participating remotely. I'm Patrick Driscoll, the chair, Mr. Raymond Ajemian, the vice chair, Mrs. Jean Garino, the clerk, Mr. Michael McDonald, and associate members, Ms. Astrid Rojas and Mrs. Julia Santacangelo. During this meeting, votes of the board will be taken via roll call. The following Bridgewater town staff will be participating remotely as well. Mrs. Jasmine Farinacci, the assistant town planner, Mr. Azu Antonero, the DPW director, Mrs. Leslie Dorr, the office administrator, and I believe the building commissioner, Mr. Stephen Solari, will be with us as well. At this point, everyone's mute is muted. Everyone's muted. Board's mics unmuted through the whole meeting, and as items appear in the agenda, the project's representatives' mics be unmuted. We do not have any public hearings this evening. We just have public meetings, so we will not have a period for public comment. And I don't know if the chat feature, Jasmine, do you plan monitoring the chat feature to get back to people?
Yes. Yes, I have the chat open on another screen.
All right, so if there is a question, the chair will recognize the question in order. You can also use the raise my hand feature in the participant menu, and you unmuted when the chair recognizes you. Again, please state your name and address for the record before asking a question. If you're on the phone, you can dial *9 or raise your hand. So first up this evening, we have Old Field Estates 2, which is a major modification. We do have a continuation request from the applicant's representatives, Attorney Lee Castanetti, requesting to have this hearing moved to June 16th, 2021. Do we have a motion to move this meeting, this public meeting to June 16th, 2021?
I'll make the motion.
By Mr. Ajemian, do we have a second?
A second, Jean.
By Mrs. Garino. Any discussion? Okay, so I'll start with Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Garino,
Yes.
Mr. Ajemian,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. Okay, so next up, the town planning staff provided a zoning analysis of the 168 and 180 Broad Street. It's an approval not required. We did receive a summary of the planning review. It does comply with the requirements of both the Central Business District and Industrial B. I don't know if the project's representatives are on the call, if they'd like to.
I believe they are.
Yeah.
John from Bowler, is that?
Yeah.
No.
Good evening. Yeah, John is here. This is Steve Meltzer from Edgewood Development
Steve.
on behalf of the owner and applicant, and John Kusich from Bowler Engineering is also with me in case there are any questions regarding the plan. I'll be very brief. If you do have any questions, please let me know. But this is essentially submitted in anticipation of our continued efforts for redevelopment of the parcel. And this is a belt and suspenders A&R application, which basically under 40A Section 6, if there is a zoning change, this will preserve the current use in case something happens with under the process of the redevelopment efforts. And we agreed to the landowner that we would do this to protect their interests. And the lot is basically split along the zoning districts. The front lot of about 2.6 acres in the CBD zone, and the back lot of about 9.8 acres in the industrial, but for the portion of the front that gives the back lot frontage. And again, I won't get far into the details, but as you said, it complies with zoning. Both lots do, in all respects, comply with the zoning requirements after division. John, I don't know if you have anything to add, or if you have any details you want to provide.
No, I think you pretty much mentioned it all. It's two lots and they have been divided to provide the appropriate frontage and area. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I know we had town staff review it, and I believe Mr. Antonero and both Ms. Burke and Ms. Farinacci reviewed it. We have an analysis. It complies with zoning in terms of frontage, area, and access. Are there any board questions? Or if there are not, do we have a motion to endorse? Do we have any board questions? I have limited access. I don't see anybody, hear anybody. So if we don't have any board questions,
Nobody's
do we
saying
have a mo-
anything right now.
do we have a motion?
To USDA now.
Was that by Mr. McDonald?
That's correct.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
By Mr. Jemian?
Yep.
Oh, I cut out for a minute. By Mr. Jemian?
Yes,
Is there any discussion? Okay, no discussion, so motion to endorse. Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Greeno,
Yes,
Mr. Jemian,
yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, so thank you, folks.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon.
Okay, thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you all.
All right, so we have a, is Mr. Antonero on the call?
He is, he just came on.
Okay, so I took a ride out there today and I called Mr. Antonero to ask him some questions, and I think he might be able to give us a little bit of an update on Upland Drive in Strathmore. They've applied to the council for street acceptance and they're just looking for a non-binding recommendation from us. Mr. Antonero, are you on the phone or on the call?
He's muted.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Yeah, this project, Strathmore Road in Upland, they actually have been back and forth with several items that they had not addressed, but eventually they came around. The drainage basins are functioning the way they should. As a matter of fact, after the precipitation that we had last week, right through Monday, drainage system seemed to be working very well. There were a couple of items that needed to be taken care of with respect to the water appurtenant structures like water gates, water service shutoffs for individual property owners, and those have been addressed. So we had actually, DPW had actually written a recommendation to the town council. There were a couple of items in the night that they had the item on the agenda of the council. There were a couple of items that I didn't get a chance to go over and take a look. And I suggested that I would go the very next day, that being the Wednesday last week. And they addressed those items. So I don't believe that there are any outstanding issues that that need to be addressed, in my view. Typically, we will also want to keep the money for the, if that gets accepted, we want to keep the bond money for the, which is.
But Mr. Antonero, they're not asking for any bond money currently. They're just asking for the street acceptance, correct?
No. But I'm not talking to the town council. I'm talking to the planning board. Yeah, the bond has to do with planning. But I'm saying the items that if you were to act, I will ask that you would whatever recommendation that you make, that you retain the bond money for,
All right, and they should submit that as a separate request to us, correct?
that is correct.
Okay.
The council doesn't have any oversight on that.
So I have the email from Mr. DaCosta and then the follow-up email from you. So both you and Mr. DaCosta are satisfied with everything that's been done out there and it's been built to the approval and the items have been addressed, correct?
That would be correct, Mr. Chairman.
And I believe in one of these you recommend, and I apologize, I'm not in the most ideal place to have a meeting. So I believe you said you recommend approval, correct?
That is correct.
Do we have any board questions for Mr. Antonero?
I do. I noticed in our packet that there were a number of possibly minor items that my interpretation was that they were not corrected. Cracks in the roadway, the basin being clean, sidewalk and so forth. Has that been done or is it still not been done?
But that actually has been done. I believe you're looking at an older communication.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what you're saying, Mr. Nantanero, is that in your view, the roadway meets all our requirements.
that would be correct, Mr. Jimmy.
Thank you.
Okay, any other board questions for Mr. Antonero?
Yes, I just have one. The streets before you get to Strathmore and Upland,
Upland,
those streets were already accepted?
that is correct.
Oh, okay. All
That
right.
is correct. That'll be, for people that are not familiar with it, those will be Elmwood Crescent and Elmwood Way.
Okay.
All right, any other board questions? Do we have a motion on the non-binding recommendation?
I'll make a motion to accept the streets on the non-binding recommendation.
Okay, so let me pull it.
Somebody, Mr. Chairman, just clarify for me again, maybe I'm slow at this, but I don't remember when we made a recommendation in the past regarding the street. Why is this a non-binding recommendation? Aren't we making a decision saying that we have looked at everything and therefore we feel that this should be approved?
I think that's true, but I think it's ultimately the decision of the council. Is that correct, Mr. Antonero?
Yeah, okay, so the reason it's called a non-binding, if you recall, under the previous, our form of government that we had, that is town meeting and board of selectmen, the planning board was the entity that actually accepted the roads. That is no longer the case with the structure that we now have. So the reason it's a non-binding is that you are not, it's set up that way so that you are not usurping the authority of the town council. That's really all that means.
Understood. It just seems to me though that if the planning board making a recommendation, the town council will obviously go by our recommendation, I assume. Maybe not. Okay.
Your assumption is correct. Your assumption is correct, Mr. Jamie, but it's just the statutory
I understand. Thank you.
language, that's all.
Yeah. Understood.
Okay, any other board questions? If we don't have any other board questions or questions from Mr. Antonero, could we have a motion to either recommend or not recommend?
Mr. Chairman, we have the motion to recommend. We don't have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, who made that?
Jean,
Jean, okay, I'm sorry. Do we have a second to
I'll
recommend?
second that.
By Mr. McDonald?
Yep.
Any discussion? Okay, I'll take the roll call then. Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Garina,
Yes,
Mr. Jemian,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. Okay. Thank you. Next on board business, we have minutes of April 21st, 2021. I saw Gene sent over some highlights for Scrivener's errors and things like that. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? And if so, could we adopt the minutes of April 2021 if there's a motion?
I'll make a motion.
April 21, 2021, I'm sorry.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes of April 21st, 2021. With
And
the correct,
And Gene, I didn't get a chance to go back and look at your corrections. Your corrections were just
Yep. minor.
like Scrivener errors, not anything
Yeah.
of substance. Okay. So we have a motion by Gene. Do we have a second?
second,
By Mr. Jemian. Any discussion on the minutes? So I'll start with you, Mr. Jemian,
yes,
Mrs. Garina,
Yes,
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. Any Director DPW reports this evening?
Nothing additional.
Jasmine, maybe we might just want to note for anybody that is on from the public that we may be back meeting again June 16th. And we're waiting to hear more from the town manager and the state on that. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And it may be some sort of a hybrid.
Correct.
Is there anything else that either you or Mr. Antonio would like to add?
There's just still a few people on. I don't know, maybe just some people came on late. Just remind them that Oldfield has been continued. They requested a continuance until the 16th.
And you didn't receive any chats or requests for public comment?
None.
So it's 6:48. If you guys want to hang on, I can get a coffee at Starbucks here and hang out, or we can wrap up the meeting. And I apologize for I couldn't get back in time to get to my computer, so I had to do this.
electronics are amazing. You did
Not
very-
ideal situation for a Zoom meeting, so I apologize if it was disruptive at all. So do we have a motion to adjourn if somebody wants to make that?
So moved,
By Mr. Jemian? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. McDonald? Mr. McDonald?
Yes. Yep.
Mrs. Greeno?
yes.
Mr. Jemian?
yes.
And I'm a yes. So, good night, everybody, and be on the 16th.
Ladies,
Steve,
very much.
Missed this meeting.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Hey,
Thank you, Leslie.
Jasmine,
Yes.
can I talk to you for a quick second?
Oh, absolutely.
You have the ability, I have to put a
Hey,
PowerPoint.
you guys might want to go offline.
I
I'm
may
gonna
need your help, I'm not sure.
Yeah, let me,
Not now. I'm just saying, I'm getting some help, but you seem to know what you're doing.